How's it going, guys? It's Nutshell, and today there is a big list of fixes that BSG are planning to fix in the upcoming updates, as well as the transition to the Unity 2022 version being within that list as well. So without further ado, let's jump into the actual fixes and some of the areas which don't seem to have been fixed, especially if you play PvE. But there are some changes for both the Escape from Tarkov version and of course Arena at the same time, so we'll take a look at both of those. The first one is the fixes for issues with synchronizing EFT and EFT Arena game profiles. So obviously some people experiencing issues between actually kind of having a whole holistic version of their account between the two modes and it not actually taking the XP and stuff like that within some of the actual differences between EFT and of course Arena. So that is being apparently fixed. So those game profiles will now be synchronized properly. So that's always good. Then we've got fixed a bug, which is probably one of the biggest ones, at least for anyone that is grinding out the game right now, or if you're playing PvE, which is fixing a bug where the player would not receive the task to restore Lightkeeper's reputation after failing the task getting acquainted. So there's been a ton of bugs with regards to Lightkeeper, the quest line, getting the quest, having the quest failed and then never getting the task back, and it appears like BSG are going to be actually fixing this and getting that back up and working again, so you'll be able to actually getting the task again. And then of course there is also a bug where people would not actually get the rewards for completing Lightkeeper tasks, which is always great. So all of those are going to be fixed into the game, which I think is amazing. And of course now if you're playing PvE, we should be able to actually get to Lightkeeper. Now his quests will be working, but of course we don't know when these updates are actually getting released. I would just expect within, you know, the next week, maybe 2 weeks or something, that these would be coming into the game. And of course as we're going towards Christmas, there will likely be a decent sized update that will feature some changes and stuff like that. Then we've got visual fixes to improve the fog behavior on locations. So yes, if you've been playing Tarkov recently, there are some cases where just fog is absolutely crazy, to the point where like you genuinely cannot see anything from any length of distance. So yeah, that would definitely be much better. And yeah, it was not a good idea to have the fog as it currently stands within the game, when it does end up just shafting anyone trying to have a decent long range engagement. But then we have geometry fixes for Streets of Tarkov near Concordia and Tarbank. So apparently there must have been some floating objects or something like that, or some buildings or clipping or whatever. We've got lighting rework for Factory, so lighting should be better in Factory, which is great. Just a little bit of an improvement since the Factory rework. Culling improvements for Shoreline, Streets of Tarkov and Woods, so always benefit. We've got fixed a culling bug on Reserve where the player would be able to clip through walls, and you know, the basically where you could go down into D2 and you could look through the wall as you're going down from the kind of cylindrical staircase, and then at the very like bottom of it you'd be able to see into D2, and therefore you could check. So no longer is that going to be the case. I'm sure the rats are probably loving that. And so yeah, definitely a rat boost, I guess. But yeah, that is going to be the case, so you won't be able to use that kind of, I guess, bug or exploit, whatever you want to call it. It's not going to be in the game anymore when the updates go live, whenever that is. There's a fixed for error 1501. You already have you already add max offer count when placing the last available offer on the flea market. So that will be fixed. So essentially if you've got like, you know, 9 out of 10 of your offers up and you try and list up a final thing, it will come back with an error even though you should be able to list it. There's also a filter improvements when interacting with the flea market, so better filters, that sounds good. Nice little kind of, I guess, user experience bonuses here. And then there's also the big bug, which was where you'd put stuff into the cultist circle only to wait, you know, 14 hours or whatever it might be to open it up and, oh look, there's nothing in there. brilliant, basically getting scammed by the cultist circle. So that is going to be basically changed and fixed. Then there is fixes for various matchmaking issues. Obviously, if you've been playing PvP recently, you're waiting like 6-7 minutes to get into a raid only to find out there's no one in that raid. Yay. So that is going to be something that is going to be, I guess, attempted to made better. I don't know whether that is going to be the case or not, but yeah, they're at least attempting to fix it. Then there's fixes for various issues in the PvE zone, very specific here. Now, have no idea what that is going to be. It could literally mean that they're going to nerf loot, because that might be an issue, that everyone has too much money or something. Or maybe they'll change, certain things, like, for example, the ability to not move things into your stash in certain areas of your stash, which become unusable. No actual detailed information on that, which is fantastic. And of course, especially if you paid for extra stash space, God, can't get that one out. And then, yeah, that is definitely not an issue right now, and is really annoying, because, if you just control click something into your stash space and realize, oh, it's gone into that area, and then you get a weird bug error saying that it couldn't be moved, and then you have to go in and find out where exactly that stash space is unusable in, and you can't move items into it. Yeah, I mean, it's just a pain in the arse, and especially if you paid money to get that, and that's the area that's actually not usable. Yeah, I mean, it's just annoying, and it should be fixed for sure. Don't know that is actually going to be fixed though. There is also fixes for bugs in the group system and AI as well, so I'm assuming this will be both for AI and PvP as well as PvE. Don't know exactly whether that is going to be the case. Maybe some bugs where, the AI is spazzing out and just starts like spinning around in a circle. Sometimes happens. I had it recently with Partisan, where he was just on a staircase spinning around and you were shooting at him and nothing was happening. So he literally was just useless. Whether that is going to be fixed, not entirely sure. Maybe there'll be some movement changes to the AI to make them better. Not quite sure, but yet again, there is going to be some fixes for that and the grouping system in the game. Quality of life and technical improvements as well are coming in, so whether or not this is going to be, to do with inventory management, whether it's going to be an addition to, of course, the stash changes that we've had recently, where you can pin items in the stash. I think that would be even better if you could add extra bits to kind of filter out what you want to keep in place and stuff like that. It'd be great. As well as, I would assume some just generally better things that you can have in the game. I don't really know, of course, very much open to your interpretation of what exactly the quality of life and technical improvements are going to be. Then we've got transition to the Unity 2022 version, which hopefully should improve how well the game actually runs, especially if you're running it on a, I guess, worse PC, although, I guess if you spend £800, you should probably be able to at least play the game. But of course, the problem with things like streets and stuff like that is that there's just so many objects within the game, and hopefully the amount of objects will be able to be better processed by the new engine, which is the Unity 2022, and therefore you should, fingers crossed, get better frames. Now, I have no idea if that's actually going to be the case. Maybe it's worse. We really don't know. I'm just hoping that the transition to the Unity 2022 version will allow for an easier development time for BSG themselves to add things into the game and just speed up the process of everything with a more like fluid version of the game engine. So fingers crossed that we'll start seeing some introductions of things that maybe weren't possible with the previous version, and maybe some graphical changes that can happen as well later on down the line. We just don't know at this point, but of course updating the game engine to a better version is most likely going to be a good benefit for everyone involved, including BSG themselves. So yeah, definitely something that is going to be big for the game in terms of going forward in the future with new updates, new changes, and just generally better performance, hopefully. fingers crossed. Escape from Tarkov Arena then, so the second section of today's video. This is fixes for known issues when interacting with the armory, so some changes to that, fixing a couple of those, fixing matchmaking issues once again, much like you would see with the PvP, PvE area, matchmaking issues, quality of life and technical improvements, once again, very vague and just generic, but you know, we can't complain about any quality of life and technical improvements. Some is better than nothing, as you see with a lot of other games in the industry. Culling fixes for Bowl, Fort and Skybridge, so where you could like clip through things and see through things, that sort of stuff, so always good. Fixes for issues with interacting with the task widget as well. Fixes for the observer UI and minimap as well. Balancing adjustments and changes to probably a wide variety of different weapons and stuff, so I'm sure that there'll be something that gets broken here, as you can probably expect with Tarkov. And then we've got some improvements to the fort for the checkpoint game mode, so I assume maybe moving certain things around to make it a little bit more balanced, depending on if there's some changes or data that they've seen that have seen that the game or whatever is unbalanced on the map. Rework and optimization for Equator as well, and adjustments and improvements to the sound on all locations. So yeah, I mean, sound on Tarkov is sketchy to say the least, so hopefully some sound updates and changes are gonna actually do something. But I mean, I think I've seen that statement in about 100 different posts, so whether or not that's actually gonna do anything, I mean, it's better than nothing. So yeah, either way, that's kind of everything given to us in terms of the updates for EFT and Arena that are going to be coming out in upcoming updates. So not all of these are probably going to come out in the next update, but I would assume it's like a staggered release of updates. But it's good that BSG have kind of given us a estimated plan. Of course, there could be extra things added in here. Of course, some things may take longer to fix, but the fact that we're getting Lightkeeper actually fixed, hopefully, in the next update, I would assume that would be a big thing for people to, or BSG to actually fix, and it'll be a massive thing for a lot of people playing the game. That will be, yeah, huge. As well as, of course, the big Unity 2022 version. I would assume that with the update to the Unity 2022 version, however, we will most likely see quite a few bugs. Now, that would be my prediction, but of course I could be wrong. But yeah, I mean, a big change to a huge change to how the actual game actually functions from the actual game engine wise. Yeah, there is definitely room for a lot of bugs, so beware of playing directly after the Unity 2022 update, whenever that might be. I would assume it could be the end of the year, but more likely I would see it closer to the end of January or something like that. It could even be months ahead of that as well, but you know, we'll get more information as soon as that actually comes out. Of course, if you enjoyed today's video or found it useful or informative, make sure to hit the like button. If you have any other comments, things that you would have loved to have seen actually enter into the game, or some extra fixes and stuff for bugs that you've noticed, let me know in the comment section down below. And of course, subscribe if you want to see some more Escape from Tarkov, whether that be PvE or PvP. We'll be doing some content coming up soon, and given the fact that I am now working part-time 2 days a week at my actual job, then yeah, we should be able to kind of push on forward with trying to make the best content for you guys. So thank you very much for watching, and I appreciate your time. See you in the next one. Goodbye.